Sometimes, depending on what year that the high school champion started, it starts in one year, ends in one year, but yet it's one year to the next year. But yet the other championship starts at a different time and it ends in the next year, but it starts uh after it ends after the championship and it begins after it ends outside of a box, which could mean something completely different for high school and college than NFL and elementary year to year versus preschool versus birth year to year versus second decade year to year versus elementary versus second decade year to year, which could be how a 24th year of age could mean the start of the same 7 week in the same month, but it means that it's in part of something that's extended more than a box in the 7 week of a high school before a 7 week of a different sport starts. uh, that hasn't started yet in this week seven, didn't even start the other championship, but it's going to be in the same box after neither of them started 2 months before, and they both continue on to the same month, February, but one ends as a certain week number, but they both begin at the same distance from a high school championship. That might mean something different uh, compared to the year that the championship is won nationally and the state that it's in a different 5 year of NFL backwards to the middle of the decade means something different in the individual championship of a realm of school outside uh, of a box inside a containment of 2 different years means something different for a national league that goes for one year to another, but still in the same box. And 2 years for a high school means could mean 2 different states uh, inside of 7 weeks. Even 2 years of uh, college high NFL ball could even be in a smaller box than 7 weeks of high school would be in between the start and after the end. It ends, the other one extends after the end further than its beginning of 7 weeks. That is the containment of how it lasts inside a box of how long uh, uh, college NFL is related to that same year of that same season inside of a box in a year number that the year number means something different for NFL and the season for high school means something different inside of that box of year outside of the two that it transitions in uh inside the season continuing from a different team that didn't win the championship in the NFL means something different in 2 years boxes outside of a high school that extends to the next year, but the season doesn't exist in the same box as the start of the year when the season is not going, and the end of the season year versus the end of the summer year versus the end of the season year versus the start of the school year would be still closer than further than the championship after the spring, after the summer rise to the meridian, and the championship in the summer after the spring rise from the last spring before the winter goes to the next year. So if you put uh, a championship from a year number for the NFL, it reaches back 2 years in one season from start to the end, not connected with the beginning of the start or the middle of the year. As a high school start of the year has no season, but NFL start of the year has a beginning that 2 years before would mean something different for high school, and 2 years season before would have to reach back to a middle of a decade summer. But for NFL, we have to reach back to a 2015-17 September, and then a 2001 January February will reach to a Green Bay Packers 2017-2029 October that would always be going from January of 24 to 25, even from 2001 to 2027 January, but October to January after 4 years would be different than January to October before 4 years from the start of a stretch outside of this video and outside the capability of this file that's inside a registration system of a lot of connections to whatever times that something goes on through my data file of whatever collection of NFL years means something different than a season in high school that is separated from the time frame of how a season might start in a different NBA year at a different height and a different age, but the season in high school might connect to a different part of the year that when it extends to the next year, it means something different of a NBA connection of 3 and 4 years versus a high school of Octobers and Januaries versus high school connection of Octobers and Novembers of 1 year. So it could reach from 1 month of a championship versus a collection of over 7 months for 4 years would mean that the collection inside of those months and years of that championship relate to a box of different connections of different smaller groups of organization of what goes on in that time frame and the college week of football that extends to whatever inspiration and inspiring moments in the box reflect to outside of a national frame of whatever year part of the year that that championship relates to a time of month number that relates to a different decade or a different year or a different time of that decade or a different time of the morning or night of the part of the beginning or end of the year or morning of the night at the two parts of the beginning of the meridian.